Dragon Ball, from its humble beginnings in 1986 to its massive influence on the anime world, Dragon Ball has captured hearts, shaped pop culture, and set the standard for action-packed storytelling. But today we're here to talk about something that's setting a new bar, Dragon Ball Daima. In this video, I'll explain why Dragon Ball Daima is more than just a good anime, it's a masterpiece. Now, before you click away, I know what you're thinking. Another Dragon Ball spin-off? No thank you. But trust me, when I say this one is completely different. To truly understand why Daima is a masterpiece, we first need to look at the legacy of Dragon Ball itself. Dragon Ball is a series that took inspiration from classic Chinese literature, combined with martial arts action and injected with Toriyama's comedic touch.
Some dogs actually get their tails cut off while they're still small.
You shouldn't have let them do that to you, Bulma. You're no dog.
From there, Dragon Ball became a household name, influencing several animes and pop culture worldwide. Over the decades, Dragon Ball has evolved, but what makes Daima so special is how it both feels familiar and refreshingly new at the same time. It takes everything that made Dragon Ball legendary and refines it with a sense of maturity. The entire show is a love letter to the fans who, like me, grew up with Goku, whilst also catering to new viewers so they can see what made Dragon Ball so special in the first place. Now, the main storyline of Dragon Ball Daima takes place 1 year after the events of the Buu saga. For those of you who have watched Dragon Ball Super, it's important to note that none of this has occurred yet. So Beerus, Whis, and any transformation involving God Ki will most likely not be a part of the show. This is made very clear to the audience at the start, as they are celebrating Trunks' 9th birthday at Capsule Corp. As we know, Trunks was roughly around 13 to 14 years old in Dragon Ball Super, and for those long-term Dragon Ball Z fans who haven't watched the Buu saga in a while, it's okay, because we are given a little bit of a recap at the start of the anime. The entire premise of Daima is unlocking a new part of the Dragon Ball universe that has never been explored, but only mentioned in passing, which is the Demon World. Home to creatures we call Majins, which roughly translates to demon person or magic person. Now, I feel like for world building, Daima does an incredible job. It really feels like with the anime expanding on the demon world, we're really starting to understand Dragon Ball a lot better. Things that we never really questioned in the past is now starting to make sense. You see, up until now, there's been a big focus on Ki, which is basically energy which people have to train in order to accomplish amazing things like enhanced speed, power, and other insane feats like flying or energy beams. Whereas the demon world heavily focuses on magic. Magic isn't very different to Ki, both allows the user to create or do amazing and wonderful things. However, from what we've seen of Ki, it seems no matter who you are, anyone can use Ki as long as they train. As we see from Videl learning to use Ki to fly. Now, it's unclear if magic follows the same principle, but we do know that Majins from the demon world have a natural affinity towards it. Now, if you recall, Buu uses the transfiguration beam in order to transform people into chocolate bars, or Deborah, the Demon King, using his spit to turn people to stone. Namekians are able to create the Dragon Balls, Dende who can heal just by touching you, Piccolo with his clothes beam. Now, I've never really put too much thought into it, but looking back, all of these special abilities were magic based. These abilities can't simply be learnt by normal training. It's already established that the ability to create Dragon Balls is an ability only something a Namekian can achieve. And if that's the case, it may be the case that some magic is just impossible to learn unless you're from a certain clan. However, I am excited to see what magic is really capable of and how it compares to Goku and his friends. Now, the previous ruler of the demon world was Deborah, and after he was defeated by Majin Buu and killed, King Goma took his place as the new king of the demon world. Now, he may look small, but he was second in command for a reason, and is said to have very strong magic. King Goma wants to rule the demon world, but after witnessing Goku defeating Majin Buu, wanted to ensure that Goku and his friends aren't a threat to his rule. So Goma travels to the human world and gathers the Dragon Balls in order to wish that Goku and his friends were all younger. Now, for those who are already young, like Trunks and Goten, they went back to being babies. Now, this wish was made thinking that making them younger would also make them weaker, but clearly, as we've seen from Saiyans, It seems like even as kids, they're incredibly dangerous. Now, as a secondary measure, Goma kidnaps Dende back to the demon world to ensure that the Dragon Balls on Earth aren't simply collected in a year's time, and his wish to de-age the Z-Warriors isn't just reversed. This is the pivotal point in which the heroes have to travel to the demon world in order to save Dende, which is ironic since Goma's initial mission was to try and stop the Z-Warriors from coming to the demon world and posing a threat to him, but he inadvertently becomes the reason they travel to the demon world in the first place. Now, this is the general summary of the main plot of the story. It boils down to a rescue mission, with the secondary storyline being they want to turn back to normal, as most of them don't want to remain as kids. However, there's so much more to this anime, so let's dive in, starting with the animation. Let's talk about the visuals. Animation in anime has come a long way, and Dragon Ball Daima showcases some of the most beautiful and dynamic fight scenes we've seen in the entire franchise. I mean, even the rain is done majestically. I just love it. It's clear that the animators are pushing their limits, with the amazing combat choreography, breathtaking energy attacks, and a style that feels modern whilst also staying true to Toriyama's original designs. Every battle feels grand, and every scene feels deliberate, not just in terms of action, but their attention to detail when it comes to their background and environment. A great example is when Goku is battling one of the Tamagamis. The fight is so fluid and entertaining to watch. You can clearly see the strategies being formed and Goku's genius in battle. Honestly, it just felt like the old martial art tournaments from Dragon Ball. This is something I have truly missed. Most of the melee fighting we are seeing nowadays are super fast fight scenes where technique and strategy is no longer a factor, and most fights are decided on speed and strength. So honestly, this is super refreshing. Now, I know it sounds like I'm truly glazing the series, but this is genuinely my honest opinion. Dragon Ball Daima feels different, truly special. I feel myself eagerly awaiting the next episode, and this is mostly due to the characters. And I'm not referring to just Goku and the usual crew. We get to meet an array of different characters in Daima, and each character is done really well. Starting with Supreme Kai's brother and sister, we have Degesu, which is Supreme Kai's younger brother, who is the right-hand man to King Goma. He is someone who didn't get along with the other Glins, Glins being the name of the race Supreme Kai came from. Degesu wants to prove himself and be useful to King Goma. He also showed an interest in making a wish with the Eternal Dragon Shenron. Now, it's not revealed what he would wish for, but if I was to guess, it would probably be something related to Supreme Kai, as he seems like the jealous type. We also have Supreme Kai's older sister, Dr. Arinsu. Now, she seems to fit the stereotypical evil scientist trope. She's also incredibly crafty and intelligent. Her goal is to rule the demon world, and she seems like she will betray King Goma at a moment's notice to gain power. Now, the reason I love this dynamic is because Supreme Kai has chosen to join Goku and follow them into the demon world. So there's definitely going to be a clash between the siblings, and I for one am excited to see it. We have already received valuable lore regarding the Kais, which is awesome because I've always wondered where they came from and who they were. But it turns out Glins like the Supreme Kai are grown from trees, and there are 5 different kind of Glind trees. And the reason Degesu, Supreme Kai and Dr. Arinsu are considered siblings are because they are born from the same tree. However, Kibito, who is also a Glind, was born from a different tree. Honestly, it's just so fascinating. We also get to meet Glorio and Pansy, who are 2 margins that end up helping Goku and Supreme Kai on their journey. Glorio is a mysterious character who seems to be working for the villain Dr. Arinsu. However, Glorio is also just a chill guy. Even though he quite clearly gives off suspicious vibes, I honestly really like him. He's direct and blunt, but there's something about him I really like, and I hope they do his character justice throughout the anime, because he's a contender to be my favourite so far. And then we have the direct opposite to Glorio, which is Pansy. Pansy is 82 years old, but she is considered a child since in the demon world, the average lifespan is actually 1000 years old. Pansy is also a princess and the daughter of King Kaden of the third demon world. Now, there are 3 demon worlds which all used to be connected. The third demon world seems like the worst one for the lower class citizens. It seems like a rough area with bandits and crime. And the second demon world is meant to be of a higher status, where apparently the Glins are actually from. And finally, the first one being for royalty and the higher class. Pansy was born and raised in the third demon world. She has a fiery spirit, and honestly the best way to describe her is that she's a mirror image of Bulma. Her specialty is tinkering with machines, and she also has the same personality. She's arrogant and bossy, being from royalty I guess. Similarly to Bulma, who's the heir to Capsule Corp and is ridiculously rich. However, on the positive side, also similar to Bulma, she's incredibly kind and caring. So that's another matchup of characters I'm excited to see interact. Bulma and Pansy will have a lot to learn from each other. Bulma can teach her about Earth technology, and Pansy can do the same when it comes to Demon World technology. Now, another character who has caught my interest in the show is a Namekian from the Demon World known as Neva. Now, I can't hide the excitement I had when they first introduced him, as Namekians have always played a crucial role in Dragon Ball. However, they've always had mysteries surrounding them, and I believe Neva will be the key to unlocking that information. Neva is the last Namekian in the Demon World, and is said to be the original creator of the Dragon Balls. And when the entire race of Namekians fled from the Demon World to the outside world, Neva stayed behind in order to protect the Dragon Balls in the Demon World. There's just so much to explore and understand regarding this character. The first being that Neva only created 3 Dragon Balls in the Demon World instead of 7. And they are very similar size to the Dragon Balls which we saw on Namek. Now, the fact that Neva only required to create 3 instead of 7 already tells me that they must be incredibly powerful. So powerful in fact, that Neva created 3 Tamagamis who were made to protect the Dragon Balls. And it's said that these Tamagamis were even stronger than Deborah, who was the previous king of the Demon World. If Neva had the power to create such powerful protectors, Neva himself must be ridiculously powerful. And that's not all. King Goma brings Neva with them to Earth in order to wish for Goku and his friends to become young. Well, Neva was able to collect all 7 Dragon Balls from across the Earth by simply summoning them. And that's not even the craziest part. The Dragon Balls were stone, since their wish had already been used. Yet Neva had the ability to restore them back to normal without having to wait a year. Now that's some strong magic. And as we know, the stronger the Namekian, the stronger the Dragon Balls. So the Dragon Balls on the Demon World must have incredible potential. Now you're probably wondering, what makes Neva's Dragon Ball so special? I mean, you can literally wish people back from death with Shenron and ask for immortality. What more do you need? Well, when it comes to magic, there is white magic and there is black magic. White magic tends to be what we're more familiar with. It has certain limitations. For example, Shenron cannot kill. Now, I personally believe the Dragon Balls on the Demon World are imbued with white and black magic, which means these Dragon Balls possibly have no limitations, meaning no wish is impossible, which is why it's so heavily protected. Now, the character Neva alone opens up a lot of ideas for theories that now make a lot of sense. For example, Kami, who was originally from the Demon World, came to Earth and created the first set of Dragon Balls. I truly believe that maybe Kami was a student of Neva's, and that there's something tying the 2 characters together. Because don't forget, when Kami left the Demon World, his memory was erased, and he had no recollection of where he came from or what his name was. And I believe this was because of Neva. Dragon Ball Daima so far in the series has done an amazing job in connecting the stories from the past together and also brilliantly foreshadowed events yet to come. For example, in the very first episode, they finally settled the long-term debate of the Patora earrings, which enable you to fuse bodies together permanently, which was the case until Vegeta and Goku separated inside of Buu, which then it was retconned that only Kais fuse permanently, but everyone else end up separating after an hour. which to me didn't make much sense, since I really like the fact that the Potara earrings offer a more powerful fusion, however, the caveat being that it's permanent. But Dragon Ball Daima confirms that it's actually the mysterious gas inside of Buu that undoes the fusion in the Potara earrings. But then again, if you watch Dragon Ball Super, Kefla and Kale have their Potara fusion undone when their earrings were broken. So I guess there's multiple ways of undoing the permanent fusion. But the fact that they eagerly reference and give a reasonable answer to a convoluted issue is great. We also learn that most creatures with pointed ears are usually from the demon world. For example, Namekians. The reason I say most creatures is because the Saiyan Ozaru form has pointed ears, and so does Beerus, but I don't think they're from the demon world. But this does finally explain where Mr. Popo came from, because I've always wondered this, but we finally know that he's from the demon world, I think. There's so many small foreshadowing events which you can easily gloss over unless you pay attention, which I'm sure will be paid off later in the anime. For example, very early on, they set up the evil third eye, which is an artifact said to have been passed down to the kings of the demon world, which is meant to be placed on the forehead and grants the user unbelievable power. So that item was lost during Abura's reign, which was Deborah's father, so I'm expecting to see that being paid off, with potentially King Goma using it to boost his magical powers. Goku also stumbles across Medibugs in the demon world. Now these are special bugs that when eaten give the user certain abilities. For example, the Revive bug, which is very similar to the Sensu Bean we're familiar with, which revives the stamina and also heals the body to tip-top shape. They also introduce other bugs like the Achichi bug, which heals burns, as well as the Zetsu bug, which helps with headaches, the Bee-Nut bug, a bug which makes a person's skin silky smooth. So we already know that Bulma will be buying this item in bulk. And last but not least, the most interesting bug, which is the Join bug, which when 2/2 of the bug is eaten, allows the user to fuse for a short amount of time, similar to the Potara earrings. So this is already foreshadowing a potential fusion later on in the series. Honestly, my takeaway from Dragon Ball Daima is that it's nostalgic, it's action-packed, and just a very fun watch. Let's use the Sky Seed for example in Dragon Ball Daima, which is literally a part of a giant plant, which in the demon world is used as a method of transportation. If you sit on the seed and pull the branch, it propels you into the air, similar to the method used by General Tao in Dragon Ball, which I think is so unique and creative. And what I love most about the show is that they don't just use obvious nostalgia bait. I'll give you an example. When Goku's body shrinks, his body is adjusting to the distance, as Goku is used to a greater reach. Now, in order to account for this disadvantage, Goku goes and searches for the Power Pole, which is a weapon he used to use as a kid in Dragon Ball. Now, this is very nostalgic, but it's also legit practical, as it helps him account for his smaller body. Now, when Goku is still adjusting to his body and is trying to fly, Korin tells Goku to use the flying Nimbus. However, Goku refuses because he wants to adjust to his body and learn to fly. The reason I love this is because this was the perfect moment to use the flying Nimbus as another nostalgia bait for the audience. But the creators acknowledged the flying Nimbus but refused to use it, because they knew if Goku relied on the flying Nimbus instead of learning to fly, it would hinder Goku, and Goku likes to be prepared for any fight, which makes sense with Goku's character. Daima understands the core of what made Dragon Ball so special. The balance between nostalgia and innovation is delicate, and Daima nails it. In conclusion, Dragon Ball Daima isn't just another anime series, it's a masterpiece. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Until next time guys.